Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff is actually bad news for the couple. Beth and Rip's Yellowstone story, continuing in their own spinoff, could prove bad news for the couple. Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser's Beth and Rip characters are a staple of the Yellowstone cast, emerging as the leads of the neo-western after Kevin Costner's Yellowstone exit. Since day one, Beth and Rip have been with us, fighting alongside John Dutton as his most loyal stewards. After John Dutton's death, just days before the Yellowstone Season 5 finale, a report prematurely confirmed that Beth and Rip's story would continue, with Reilly and Hauser leading an offshoot of the flagship. The ending of Yellowstone Season 5 allowed Beth and Rip to move on from protecting John Dutton's legacy when Case sold the family's heirloom ranch to the Broken Rock tribe. With the Duttons fulfilling a forgotten promise, Case and Beth stepped away from their family's 7-generation homestead and moved on, respectively. Case settled at East Camp with Tate and Monica near the reservation, and Beth and Rip also started a new beginning that included their adopted son, Carter. Now that the Loveford story will continue outside the flagship, there's one thing we know for sure about what's next for them. In Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14, Beth tells her husband that she bought a ranch in Dillon, Montana. Beth notes that the little house and big barn are why she chose the homestead, noting its irrigated hay meadows where Rip can earn a living managing about 600 pairs of cattle. The end of the episode shows Beth and Rip moving onto their new ranch satisfyingly, with Beth looking out across its thousands of acres into the mountains. If Beth and Rip's story ended with the Yellowstone Season 5 finale, their lives would forever be frozen at that moment in time. Therefore, if Yellowstone ended with that scene of Beth, Rip, and Carter, it would preserve the family's happily hard-earned ever after. While Rip notes that the ranch, located 40 miles west of Dillon, won't be very active, Beth notes that the property's isolation aligns with her desire to live without tourists wandering in and out of her life. Lloyd notes that the area Beth chose for their homestead experiences brutal winters and bug-infested summers, but perhaps we could imagine that Beth will get an expensive fur coat and somehow outsmart the bugs like she's outsmarted everyone else. Beth and Rip's story continuation will inevitably disrupt the family's happy ending, considering they will need to experience some form of conflict to tell a compelling story. The continuation of the characters means that Beth and Rip will face new hardships, which will likely extend beyond the harsh winters and frustrating summers they endure. While the new Dutton-Wheeler ranch pales compared to the Yellowstone, which comprises hundreds of thousands of acres, Beth and Rip, maintaining 7,000 acres of private land and 20,000 acres of BLM land, will come with corresponding hurdles. Vora's comments imply that Beth and Rip's complex backgrounds may complicate the simplicity of their future, suggesting that happily ever after is a simplified notion for characters like Beth and Rip. Vora's directly implied that Beth and Rip's Yellowstone story could be the beginning of another Dutton tragedy. Her take on the couple's Yellowstone fate is that Yellowstone screenwriter Taylor Sheridan set up Beth and Rip's conclusion so that their story could go in either direction, equally inclined to evolve into a fairy tale as it is to end in disaster. There's no doubt that the couple share a deep love for one another, but Vora's comments insinuate Beth and Rip's spin-off story could test their marriage. It's worth considering that Beth and Rip have always existed on the ranch with a common enemy, fighting for the fate of the Dutton legacy side by side. Without a common enemy to attack, one has to wonder where Beth and Rip will channel the chaotic energy that embroils their experience, especially since the Yellowstone Season 5 finale suggested the land in Dillon, Montana wouldn't be kind to the couple, adding stress to their situation. Vora's noted dark secrets in her comments, which could hint at Beth keeping Rip in the dark about aborting their pregnancy when they were adolescents. Rip knows that Beth is infertile, but the couple has yet to process the trauma of why that happened together. Still, while new experiences could drive a wedge between them, it's difficult to imagine an ending to Beth and Rip's story in which the couple separates voluntarily, especially considering Sheridan's history of penning indelible power couples for Yellowstone. That said, Voro's comments suggest tragedy could follow the couple regardless. The announcement of a Yellowstone spinoff featuring Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler sent shockwaves through the devoted fanbase of Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western saga. For many, Beth and Rip's tumultuous yet deeply passionate relationship is the beating heart of the series. Their story is one of survival, redemption, and a fierce loyalty that transcends the scars of their pasts. So, when news broke that this powerhouse couple would helm their own show, excitement quickly turned into a frenzy of speculation. But for all the anticipation surrounding this new chapter, the spinoff could spell trouble for the couple in ways fans might not expect. The peril of isolation. Beth and Rip have always thrived in the chaos of the Yellowstone Ranch. Surrounded by family feuds, land disputes, and an endless parade of threats, their bond has been forged in the fire of adversity. But removing them from that volatile environment risks diluting the very essence of their connection. The Yellowstone Ranch is more than just a backdrop. It's a crucible that tests and strengthens their relationship. A spinoff that isolates them from this dynamic ecosystem could unintentionally weaken the stakes that make their love story so compelling. Consider the possibility. A spinoff focusing solely on Beth and Rip might lack the rich tapestry of conflicts and characters that enrich their narrative. Without the Dutton family's tangled web of loyalty and betrayal, or the constant threats to their land, what's left to challenge Beth and Rip? A story centered exclusively on their domestic life or a new frontier could feel static compared to the high-stakes drama fans have come to expect. The couple's fiery chemistry thrives on conflict, but a spinoff might force them into scenarios that test their dynamic in less engaging ways. The risk of overexposure. Beth and Rip are beloved precisely because their moments on Yellowstone are impactful yet measured. Sheridan's writing has carefully balanced their screen time, using their relationship to anchor the show without overshadowing its sprawling ensemble. A spinoff, by definition, would demand a relentless focus on Beth and Rip, potentially leading to overexposure. When characters are placed under a constant spotlight, the magic that makes them special can begin to fade. Beth's sharp wit and unapologetic fierceness, coupled with Rip's quiet strength and unwavering devotion, are hallmarks of their appeal. However, stretching these traits across an entire series could run the risk of caricaturing them. Beth's biting remarks might lose their edge if overused, and Rip's stoicism could become monotonous without the counterbalance of Yellowstone's ensemble. Fans adore these characters as they are, but too much of a good thing could lead to diminishing returns. A shift in narrative dynamics. On Yellowstone, Beth and Rip exist as part of a larger story, one that revolves around the Dutton family's fight to preserve their legacy. Their relationship is a cornerstone of this narrative, but it's not the entire foundation. A spinoff would inherently shift the focus, making their love story the primary plotline. While this might seem like a dream come true for fans, it's a double-edged sword. Without the sprawling conflicts of Yellowstone to contextualize their bond, the spinoff could struggle to maintain narrative momentum. What happens when the couple's internal conflicts take center stage? Will the show delve into unresolved traumas, new challenges, or the possibility of them starting a family? While these avenues have potential, they also run the risk of rehashing familiar themes or veering into melodrama. Beth and Rip's story thrives on balance. Too much focus on their relationship could tip the scales and undermine the complexity that makes them compelling. The challenge of sustaining the tone. Yellowstone's tone is a masterful blend of gritty realism, operatic drama, and moments of quiet introspection. Translating this into a spin-off that revolves around Beth, and Rip poses a significant challenge. The couple's scenes on Yellowstone often serve as emotional anchors, providing relief or resonance amidst the chaos. A spin-off would require a tonal shift to accommodate their unique dynamic, a balancing act that could alienate fans expecting the same gritty drama of the original series. Additionally, Beth and Rip's story has always been steeped in the past. Their shared history is a wellspring of emotional depth, but a spin-off focused on their present and future would need to tread carefully. How much of their backstory can be explored without retreading old ground? And how can the show expand their narrative without betraying the essence of who they are?